so apparently the computer is not live Instagram friendly.
Oh yeah, I never even remember to tell people that because I don't think about it, but I should. I should add that to my protocol. Like, by the way, when
It's
you're
all
joining
good.
Instagram Live, how are you
You just
doing?
made me feel like an old person, but whatever, it's fine.
Well, you're not the only one that's had that problem before, and I'm always like, I never know what to do, so I'm like, I'll just give them directions as I'm live, easier than signing off and signing back on. How are you doing today?
I am lovely. Thank you for asking. I'm a big fan, so I'm happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. Well, where do you live?
Central Florida, so it's quite
Oh,
toasty.
okay. That's nice. That's nice. It's actually really warm here in Indiana today, so I can't imagine how warm it is in Florida.
I think it's supposed to be 90s this week, so we're kind of flipping over to summer, like pre-summer. So I'm scoping out the area for like free splash pads, and I'm just
Yes.
gonna get out the sprinkler because it's time.
Splash pads are life in the summer with little kids. 100%. We have lots of them here, and I never thought about them before I had kids, and now I'm like, thank God we have all these. So I don't know if you had a chance to hear what I was saying before you got on, but essentially, I just, as I have been working on my new book and just thinking about how to tell women's stories better, like I just want to speak with women who are living out their calling, who, are leaning into God and hearing what he has to say and have a story. And so you and I connected through Hope Writers. I think that's right, isn't it?
I don't even remember.
Are
I've
you
been
in Hope
following you for a
Writers?
while. I was.
Okay, okay. So I think it was maybe when I did my book giveaway like a year and a half ago or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, and I found your podcast. So I've been listening to that on and off, and then I follow you on Instagram. So I see, I mean, whenever you find it, oh, and your emails too. Whenever you find a writer that you connect with and you don't feel like it's a big deal to stalk them, I like those kinds of people. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I find you and I like you and I'm okay with seeing your voice and hearing, seeing your face, hearing your voice, seeing your face everywhere, I just need those kind of people in my life to speak truth. So yeah, you've stuck around. So congratulations.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it takes a lot to like stay signed up to an email list. Like you have to actually like someone and like I think we'd be friends in real life type of thing. I agree. Well, I want to hear a little bit about your story. I sort of mentioned it before you got on. You are a mom by adoption, and you have a pretty cool story. You are going to be a mom times two here pretty soon, which is exciting. So tell us how you found yourself in a position to be an adoptive mom, and what is the story behind that?
Okay, so Kevin and I got married in 2010, and I come from a really big family. So I was pretty set on becoming a mom. I didn't really know the exact time frame. I just knew that it was non-negotiable. It was kind of my calling. I'm one of those boring people who say, I always wanted to be a mom.
Me too. That's what
Anything
I
else? I'm like, what? I did not dream very big when I was, 12 and 15, but that's true. I just like, that was my future. And I wanted to serve God. I wanted to be in the ministry, and I wanted that cute husband, man. And then those cute kids. So that really was my dream, but I was 21 when we got married. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
yeah, we were both 21. My birthday is July 20 and we got married July 30. So I was just barely 21 years old. And we went right away to seminary to Dallas. So we were in Dallas for 4 years. At the time, we didn't know we were going to be there for 4 years. And a whole nother story is my husband didn't actually finish his seminary degree, even though we were there for 4 years. He had some medical problems. And that was difficult because he didn't get the degree that he went there for. So I kind of felt like my life was on hold for 4 years because I was working in a cubicle. I mean, you just don't feel like
Not the dream.
Yeah, you're like, is this my real life? I'm in a cubicle. But God used that for me to really just, I was exactly in the place that he wanted me to be. I just didn't know it. So we kind of put kids on hold during that time for obvious reasons. But I was around kids all the time. I was a nanny. All my friends were, thinking about getting pregnant, trying to get pregnant. juggling their kids. So I've been around kids. I've been babysitting since I was 12 years old. So it kind of was something that was just so monumental. It was when I found myself at 30 years old and no kids, I said, how did I let this happen? This is not Kim's life. This was not Kim's dream. This was, it was shocking. Like, I literally woke up one day and was like, how did I get here? How did I let this happen? And that sounds like I'm blaming myself for it. Really, we were trying for kids and it wasn't happening. We were doing tests. They were expensive. So just, one test at a time. And then I still wasn't getting pregnant. And we hadn't really sat down and had a big conversation about what to do if we can't have biological children. So one thing I don't know that everybody understands, and I didn't really like this about the infertility journey, is how difficult it is to have conversations about it with your husband. I mean, he's my best friend. He's someone I trust completely. And sitting down with him and talking about, our bodies not working and what we're going to do about it and what God has for our family, it was very difficult. So I avoided those conversations. I didn't have them. And maybe I feel like, looking back, the reason I was 30 years old with no kids was because it was uncomfortable to even go down that road and face the truth. So we had the conversation, and I think you're kind of a sports person. You understand the analogy of the hats when the high school senior sits down and has to choose a hat, like one from each college, of which college they're going to go to.
Okay.
And he puts it on his head and they all cheer, and like he chose University of Michigan, woohoo. So I felt like there was a hat of foster care and a hat of adopting foster children, older foster children, and then a hat of infant adoption. And I told my husband, I don't feel comfortable doing foster care at this point in time. I desire permanence. And then I said, the foster children to adopt, I'm more leaning towards, but the infant adoption is kind of what I would like to do. That's kind of the dream. And God had to work on my heart because my husband wanted to adopt through foster care. And I pushed back quite a bit. So it took a couple of months, but my heart did get closer to God's goal of every child having a family. Even though that's not how we adopted, it's still possibly in our future, and it's just a passion of his and mine to be involved in the foster ministry
system.
Yeah, we just are more aware of it, and once you're aware of it, you end up doing something about it eventually. So an infant adoption situation came to us in September of 2019, and we were not chosen, but we did apply and put our hearts out there. And then after we didn't get chosen, the devastation we fought, like that kind of just fell on us. We were like, oh my goodness, they didn't choose us.
Yeah, because you would get your hopes up and be so excited about it.
Yeah, and this was just like the first opportunity that came our way. And the fact that my husband was so devastated, because it was a little boy, he was already born, and he had surgery immediately, and his mother, gave him to the hospital. And so they were looking for a family. And we were like, yes, let's do it. Let's become parents today. And we did it. But that kind of shifted us in that direction. And then my prayers changed. It was less of, God, give me a family, or God, if it's your will for me to have, for me to get pregnant, that's fine. Whatever you want to do, it's fine. I'll just sit here and wait and keep living my life. Whatever you want to do. It was very passive. And then from then on, I felt like God told me, your children are out there. Go and get your children. And I knew they were there. And at the time, I thought it was foster. So I looked on profiles and I saw little faces, and I said, God, lead us to our children. Our children are out there. I asked people to pray for us to bring our children home, because I knew that he had told me, God told me
Mm-hmm.
It was on my heart that he was leading me to act. It wasn't just about faith, it was about acting. So we just applied for many situations. And then February 1st, we applied for Eden. And she was, her birth mother's name is Ashley. And Ashley was due at that time in 4 weeks.
This is last year, 2020?
Yes, this was 2020, February of 2020, right before the quarantine hit. So we had no idea that was even going to happen. Obviously, nobody did. We applied for her. We got a text on February 5th that Ashley was asking what we wanted to name her. And I'm like looking at my notes, like trying to send her names, thinking, what if I send her the wrong name and she doesn't choose us because she doesn't like the name?
Yeah, that's really nerve-wracking to think that they want to know the name and you're like, I don't care, whatever you want to name, whatever sounds good to you, right?
And that has happened before when we were applying for all these infant situations. They said, well, what are you going to name the child? And so some of them required that to be on the paperwork. You had to name a child before you knew.
So crazy.
Anything. And sometimes they ask you to include a name in whatever name you choose. So I can understand that from a woman's perspective. That's one of the first things you think about. I mean,
yeah,
we're like 12 years old playing like MASH and like knowing what we're going to name all of our, 4 children or whatever. 2 boys and 2 girls.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. I've never thought about that before in terms of adoption. But it's like, yeah, you're talking to a woman who obviously is doing this amazing thing, by doing the best thing she can for her baby. And it makes sense that they would ask that question.
Yeah, so we had to choose names because Kevin and I hadn't even really talked about names. We figured we'd get pregnant, then we have 9 months, but then with adoption, all of a sudden it happened really fast. So we found a name. Eden Renee is from 2 separate songs that Kevin was listening to, and he just felt like, we've been through a lot of Garden of Gethsemane's, and we were ready for a Garden of Eden. So there's a song about that, comparing Garden of Gethsemane, where the sorrow is, where the trials are, where the tears are, versus Garden of Eden, which is a more peaceful paradise place. And not to say that when you have children, everything is paradise, but the craziness that comes with children. But just the comparison of, okay, God, we have been through it. Like, we've been through many things together as a couple, and you're giving us a gift. And so Eden Renee came out of that. And Renee means like renewal, rebirth. And that's what we felt like that was for our family. But then in the fall, on Halloween, Ashley told us she was pregnant again. So we are actually expecting our second infant adoption, her little sister, in June.
So how much do you keep in touch with Ashley?
So open adoption comes in various different formats. I guess you kind of can choose what you want. And how our situation happened is because we were doing all these infant adoption applications, we kind of saw what the standard was for the open adoption communication moving forward. So that made it really easy when we were connected with our caseworker, who is connected to a lawyer. So basically we did our adoption not through an agency, but through a lawyer. The caseworker asked us to draft a contract that we would sign to say what we want the communication to be moving forward. So what we had seen was normal was 1 annual visit face-to-face. And then for the first year of the child's life, they need pictures every month. And then after that, it's just 1 year, every year face-to-face. So that's what we agreed to. And Ashley and I communicate through Facebook Messenger. She asked for pictures. She said today, how's Eden? And I just send her, the last 2 or 3 pictures that are on my phone or a video. Or the other day she said, what are you guys up to today? And I just did a quick video of us like going for a walk. And I said, we're headed to the park, and just to kind of give her glimpses into our life, because she has told us multiple times she doesn't feel like she's missed a lot because we've drafted this relationship that's very including, I guess, inclusive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I just, it has worked for me. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. I like inviting her in, because it is her biological daughter, but it is my daughter. And that adoption triad of the child, the adoptive family, and the birth family, it's really important to have boundaries. But
Mm-hmm.
I also think it has been really telling of God's love, is that Ashley's situation is such that she cannot take care of children. And she knows that. But there's still some there's still sadness that she knows
Yeah.
she can't take care of her own children. Um, and we're the first adoption that she chose. This next baby will be only her second adoption. And she has other children. So when she agreed to give us Eden, it was extremely emotional for her. But yet we were there in the hospital, and parts of it was difficult, but parts of it was really beautiful because she was making the decision, and I could see the pain on her face as she held, she would ask me, can I hold Eden? Can you take some pictures? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm right here. And I got to sit on the bed with her and, like, just take care of her a little bit. To me, that was really enjoyable. I don't know how it was for her. I can't speak for her. But there were some really tender moments. And I think that's how adoption can look. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt more love for her that's more unconditional than any love I've ever felt in my life that feels maybe more conditional. Like, I will love her, unconditionally, because God has given me that love for her, because she has given me her children. So it doesn't really matter what she does, what her choices are. Other people may see that and not really give her dignity. And I understand that. She kind of lives on the fringes of society, but I feel like God has given me so much love for her that is obviously only from him, just because of her lifestyle and her choices. I just feel grateful that God has given me the opportunity to feel that kind of love. And I honestly think it's the way that he feels towards his children. Doesn't matter the choices that we make. It's an unconditional love that is just so expansive and covers, everything, covers a multitude of sins.
That's so beautiful. I mean, it's you couldn't experience that, I feel like, in almost any other any other kind of situation. So it's really cool, I think, how we do see God's love in so many different symbolic ways in our lives, this being one of them. Now, when you were 21 and you got married, like, you probably never thought that this is the place that you would be in. Looking back now, like, what do you think about what's happened? What might you have told yourself back then when things were so frustrating?
Yeah, that's a good question, because unfortunately, I thought that infertility would go away once I was an adoptive mom. I don't really know what I thought. It's not like I thought that having a baby